have a great article up about guilt. I think you wrote it in late August, and I want to just kind of bring something up about it because there's something really cool about how you investigated the word and how you kind of defined it and how you explored it. You were talking about guilt, and it said, "Here something essential is revealed. Guilt is not a mistake, but a side effect of freedom. Every decision means that we choose one path while others remain unchosen. In this shortcoming, in the fact that we cannot grasp all the possibilities, guilt is already born. It is not a punishment, but the inevitable price of freedom." And I haven't really come across that kind of a interpretation of guilt before, and I just wanted to see how you kind of put that together and what guilt means for you in that sense.
Yeah, we are thrown into this unknown world. We don't know. Really, essentially, we question ourselves like, why am I here? Is my purpose? Why am I supposed to be? What's my role? And who is giving me this role? And we always we face these questions. That's a question of meaning. And then sometimes people find they don't have to address those questions because their religion is really giving to them. Then it's a little bit easier for them, like, oh, it's God, don't question. But if you start questioning, like, but even, or it's given religion to me, or I choose the religion, it's still my responsibility if I'm choosing the right one. But we want to look for something which is like meaningful, or some kind of feeling like we belong to something, or we have some kind of dogma set up for us that we can then feel like something else make the decision for us or give us a meaning. But essentially is we're looking something that spares us from guilt of like, why is I'm doing something wrong, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this essential feeling which is part of everyone, you know and when we have this feeling but we don't understand why, is this feeling of unknown is like similar to a feeling that actually when we really did something wrong and we feel guilty about it. But sometimes we have this feeling of guilt, but what we done wrong. And that's why then I say, well, then a human created religion, in the sense that, talking about those religions who create some stories, explanation how human race developed, because we need to, let's say we talk about Adam and Eve, that we can actually kind of find some explanation. So always starts, there's a sense of guilt, but then we create a story. The same, like we feel a sense of isolation, seclusion. That's another big topic, kind of existential topic. But we always again start to find something, some reason out there, lacking of something. But no, it's essential. We are alone. So that's why it's good to acknowledge what is essentially human. For everyone who is self-aware, we have a feeling of guilt. We have a feeling of isolation, and other things too.
I really appreciate that understanding of it, where guilt is not necessarily a always a consequence of an action that you might regret. It is simply just the part of the lived experience of being an individual in the world as a lived experience. And and yeah, I like how you were mentioning that it makes somebody create a story. Like, why do I feel guilty? Oh, maybe I did something wrong, and then you have a story, and then you have these in religious contexts, in larger contexts, you have these myths that might come out of exploring someone or a collective exploring that sensation or feeling. But yeah, like there's this idea that it being a part of freedom, like these freedoms of being able to choose something, and whether or not you choose something correct for yourself or that feels the most meaningful or fulfilling, just because you chose something means that there are all these other choices that you didn't make, and then it makes you feel like, well, did I make the right choice? Or, um, what would have happened had I done something else. It's just a really interesting way of being able to hold guilt and to experience it, because it's guilt, at least in the way that I understand it, is usually just in the sense of like something as a consequence to like a regrettable action. And this kind of goes along with something that else I find on your website, quoted a lot, which is from Viktor E. Frankl, which is man is not a victim, but a co-creator of his own destiny. And I was wondering, like, if this type of quote has a certain kind of meaning for you, because I know that it's kind of it's in a few different key places on your website. I was wondering what your relationship is with that quote.
Yeah, it's a very important quote, I think, because it just plays that we're responsible. It's connected with what we're talking about now. That actually that um, people, that's the main problem with depression, is that I'm not responsible, and something out there has to save me. Something out there is responsible for my suffering. If things will be different, then I'll be happy. If the world will be happier, I'll be happy. So it's just like denying the responsibility. Yeah, but now here, this quote is great. I really like it. It kind of resonates with me because it shows that no, you're not always a victim. You're also creator. So there's so much of freedom that you have. There are situations, there are definitely things that are, let's say, we call uh, destiny, like something like it died. You can't say it didn't die or disappeared, or I don't have a leg, or I lose my leg, or I'm sick. There's something you can't just repair. You're not really responsible, but you're responsible how you relate to these things. Like I take it with aversion, are you taking it with some greed or delusion, we hate delusion, like in Buddhist terms. So yes, you are responsible. And no matter how things are difficult, it's always you have this maneuvering space where you can actually see that how you relate to those to suffering, it's on you. It's your responsibility. It's your choice. So yeah, you're not always a victim. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like as within the context of working as a therapist, as a psychotherapist, and working, because I know that you work with individuals, and you also work within a partner and marriage therapy counseling setting as well. Uh, all, giving people the space to be able to navigate things that come up, like circumstances that are more or less out of your control, but then how you relate to those circumstances, and the mindset that you have going forward can be more up to you, and making a choices accordingly can help you uh, co-create or develop that destiny. And I appreciate what you do, because it helps people manifest the destiny that they can uh, feel connected to, fulfilled by, or at least feel less victimized by, less harmed by. So it's great work that you're doing. And I know that part of your therapy approach is there's a lot of listening, there's a lot of full appreciation of the other person that's in front of you, the client, but there's also this integration of spirituality. Like there is this kind of opening up of space of connecting to something maybe a little bit deeper or larger or something like that. And I was wondering how that has been going for you when you work with somebody. Uh, are some people reticent, or do some people not want to have a spiritual life that you talk to, and you kind of like, well, there isn't as much depth that I can get into with you? Or do you find that most people are, because of the things that they're going through, are open to healing in a certain way, and that's where that spirituality can kind of come in?
Hmm? Depends with the people. I really go with the flow with them. There is really, I don't have a plan in advance. I'm going to work with person in that way. It's really it's connecting with them, have conversation. It really and then depends, with some cases it really goes to very practical, that's kind of more methodical, classical psychotherapy. but but that's not so often for me, because immediately when I see it has a kind of philosophical ability, the client, I go quite then into that question. So existential questions, meaning, question of death, but also, yeah, and then spirituality. Like if they're open, if they feel like a spiritual inclination, sure, let's use that. Let's talk about it. And I have no problem to talk with Christian, Muslim. Of course, the most comfortable I'm with Buddhist because I'm so at home there. But also uh, I read a lot of Christian uh, books from Christian thinkers and Bible, so I'm kind of have background there too, and I can communicate with them. So but I'm so deep in Buddhist teaching that even that I don't tell them a Buddha or Buddhism, it's a lot of there in the background. So if people who are Buddhist and learned Buddhist, they will recognize. But I'm using their language, client's language. I might use a Christian language. I might use very atheistic language, or just secular language, or very scientific language, because everybody is different. Because with some people, if I start talking about spirituality and so on, they immediately will be like aversion, like is a wall. But great thing about like spending monastic life and reading Buddhist teaching, that you have so much seclusion, so much time to work with your thoughts and developing some wisdom, that you're not anymore so much locked in some kind of dogma, that you're able to translate your understanding in the language that other people can follow, not like just copy paste what I read. So it really comes like, yes, I'll listen everything a lot. I integrate it, and then I try to share with other people, try to adjust my language and communication that suits to the listener. I was always very interested in that. So also when I was translating Dhammapada, I always had in mind that the reader of Dhammapada would be, let's say, a neighbor who is a farmer. So would be able to grasp at least a bit, or I should be too literal with all technicalities there. No, I want to actually reach the message to him. So also when I was writing Buddhist articles, again, my readership, or the person that I was imagining who is reading this article, is some kind of farmer from our village. That's I was fascinated how to communicate. Yeah, so less academic. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really appreciate your openness to being flexible with your communication skills, where you can meet the client where they are and make sure that you're not putting them in a position, because after all, you're trying to create a condition where people can kind of really open up and explore and talk about things that are important to them. And if you're immediately uh, offering a lot of things that are academic or confusing or spiritual or scientific, and it's not going to meet where they're coming from, it can kind of be destabilizing. So I'm really glad that you have uh, that capacity to be able to kind of facilitate and really listen to, like, well, how am I going to convey something here, or how am I at the very least going to kind of construct this space where they can be as open as possible and heal from the things that they're concerned about. And the that messaging, yeah, because you've done translations, you certainly write a lot, and you've written books, and you've offered translations, you write articles. Do you find that there's something, um, as you write, like, is there something that's particularly fulfilling for you when you get into maybe like the Dhammapada, like when you were translating that, did it feel like you were really connecting with the text in a different way because you were having to put it in your own words or into words of people that are not necessarily academics?
Uh, when I was writing the articles, I was started writing articles. No, I was in England. Yes, I was Sorry, I was writing them in Slovenian language, which for me was just, living in England. You think in English, you talk to English, but I really felt like I want to express something in Slovenian language. So that was really like a test. All these abstract knowledges in English, in vocabulary, put in Slovenian, you really have to understand many put in Slovenian. So for me, it was just very a contemplation in the same time, and I was writing. And then I continue writing, and of course, if I would care how much audience I have, I wouldn't write anything. But I did not care how many audience I have, because I cared that I'm writing for myself. I'm putting my thoughts down. I was enjoying my way of expressing and putting to kind of home, give it a bit of feeling of home in those articles. So I was just doing basically more for myself, and then if somebody reads it and benefits from it, wonderful, even better. That was not the reason, the important part. The same with Dhammapada. Yes, I was just like, well, the Dhammapada was more complex also for myself, but also it came just an idea that like what sutta to translate into Slovenian, and that would be for general knowledge. The people get a little bit of feeling what the Buddha was talking, because usually people just translate things like from other ajahns, teachers. I wanted that people also read Buddha, but it's difficult to choose a collection. So of course, Dhammapada is a classic, everybody knows it, and I decided to do Dhammapada. I wanted that actually gets reprinted, some already translated Dhammapada from Primož Pečenko, but it was complicated because it was not possible to do it for free distribution. So I thought like, okay, then I have to do it myself, obviously, so that we can then print Dhammapada for free distribution. So I had this, that was then the reason to do that.
Well, it's wonderful that you also make it you make it free for people to pick up, and I mean that just adds to the accessible nature of it. And it's very special to hear that when you were writing those Buddhist articles, that when you were writing in the language that you grew up with, that you felt like there was like a home to it. There was like this like connection to something that you were kind of speaking to a home in yourself, but also, I mean, should someone in your village come across your writing, you can also it can maybe resonate with them and feel that connection, feel like you're speaking to someone very locally. And then I know that like the uh, reading for you has been particularly helpful with your Buddhist journey, because when you were 9 years old, I think you came across an encyclopedia, and it touched a little bit on Buddhist philosophy. And I was wondering what that moment was like for you. I don't know if it's a very clear and detailed memory for you, but it seemed like when you were engaging with like that piqued your curiosity in particular. And I was just curious, like what might have resonated with you back then, if you can remember.
I remember very clearly. Yeah. That book, I think it's called Slovenian Dolenjska encyclopedia, so family encyclopedia. So it's it's a thick book and a lot of topics, just sections. And I was, in general, I was as a child interested in ideas, spirituality, questioning about death, what is afterlife, morality. That was very close to me. Somehow always respected elderly people, because I felt they were close to death, so they probably know better what death is because they're so old. So yeah, this kind of child way thinking. And yes, I was just reading religion. Also, I was actually altar boy. I volunteered to be there when I was around that age, 8 years old. But then when I was around 9, when I was looking at this encyclopedia, what really was interesting is just when I was reading about it, that Buddhists respect all living beings, also animals. For me, Buddha's like, wow, that's perfect. That's wonderful. I mean, that was like perfection. Like, also animals, and I loved animals. And it says, oh, Christians don't say that. They say love your neighbor, but in practice, I don't see that. That's how I was thinking at the time. And for me, it was just like perfection there. And I said, I like that. And there was a description written there that Buddhism is not like a faith-based religion, but it's more science in the sense that you investigate your mind. I thought, oh, that's even more fascinating. I love to investigate my mind. That's what my idea at that time. So I fall in love with Buddhism that time. And then, of course, the image of the Buddha. And, you know, even image of the Buddha was interesting because that image was sitting the full lotus position. And before I was anything I knew about Buddhism, like when I was in early primary school, I loved sitting in a full lotus position. I always like to put one leg on another, and then I was, you know, imagining put one leg at another, and then I was walking on the floor like some kind of Indian yogi. So when I saw this image of the Buddha, I felt like he's sitting like me. That was just wonderful. And then, of course, the image of the monks were there, these kind of serene, nice monks' robes. And I thought, oh, I like that. So then I was reading more about it. And then I was reading more about meditation. So yeah, 9 years old was just this kind of basic, but then over years, I was getting more and more knowledge what Buddhism is. I didn't know English at the time. There was very, very little materials on the Buddhist teaching, just some kind of encyclopedias and maybe Dhammapada was already there in some one book. And then came into Slovenian language, Ajahn Sumedho's book. And this is when I really fall in love with the idea to become a monk. Yeah.
Mm. It's so wonderful that you saw so much of yourself in the encyclopedia, where you're like, well, I'm actually kind of already doing that, and I love this idea of caring for people and animals. I appreciate the way that things are presented, the way the Buddha looks, and how the lotus posture is something that the full lotus is something that you were doing before, and also too that the the caring for the animals. Yeah, it just seemed like it hit you in the investigating the mind. I mean, just like that as a resource for really plumbing those depths and really exploring. It sounds like it really did resonate with you and hit you right at the right time. And then I was wondering because like I believe that you started the Bhavana Theravada Buddhist Society maybe when you were around like 18 or something like that. It was in 2003, and uh, I was wondering when you were kind of deepening this, when you were really exploring it, were there a lot of other people that you knew growing up, like in your village or nearby, that were exploring Buddhism too, or were you kind of an island, or did you feel like you were kind of the only one that was this interested in it?
I was felt very alone. Yeah, in the very beginning, I felt like there's no Buddhist in Europe. I felt like just Asia. I was even reflecting to go to Asia. But then I heard there is a group in Slovenia, and but they were living in the capital, and I was living, I don't know, 50, 60 kilometers away, too far for a teenager, you know, just to go to the capital. So I didn't. So I knew of them. We did have some or email correspondence or with one person, also regular phone call. And for me, that connection, there's just little connection, this phone call for me was just so powerful, meaningful. I love that group. It was felt like a family to me, even that I was not really much part of the group, but I tried to engage with them and be part of something, even there was some kind of retreat happening, and then I was not able to join. Somehow I was trying to play a part of it or organizing somehow in the background. I just felt I want to be part of it. It's still like when I'm thinking of that group, it's very warm feeling. It was something very special, feeling like that you're not alone, that you're connected, yeah.
Mm.
And then also understood. You know, it's kind of lonely to not to be understood, and lonely that I'm just with my own thoughts and my own investigation what Dhamma is. So yeah, the Sangha was important. Yeah.
Well, it's wonderful that you were able to. I mean, I didn't know it was a distance, but you were able to have some sort of contact with them, some sort of communication, and it's wonderful how meaningful it was for you to sustain that. And I know that like it sounds like there's a story here, but on the last day of your final exams for your, I think it was like at your high school, that was the day that you did your leaving home, and you decided to kind of commit yourself to exploring this path as a monk, or like as a novice monk and things like that. Uh, what was that experience like for you to kind of uh, maybe not go the same path as some of the other people you were in school with? And I don't know how your family reacted to that, but it's a major life moment. I just want to know what your take is on that.
Yeah, that was the most. It's kind of mixed emotions around that memory, because I still can't believe that I was able to do that. That actually that I left my home. I knew like months in advance when I'm going to leave, and immediately after uh, I finished high school. Because I visited a year earlier, I visited a monastery in Italy, Santa Citarama. I always thought I knew I'd become a monk, but I thought first I would finish uni and then I would become a monk. But when I went in Santa Citarama, I felt like, no, I belong to the monastery life. I don't want to spend another 4 and many years in uni. That's it. So I felt like immediately when I finished my high school, I'm just going. I'm going. I was so sure, so in some way stubborn, maybe naive. I don't know. And that I was able to leave my home. Basically, how I left my home, I just completely packed my stuff, went to uni, had some last exam, like you told me, and then went on train in my suitcase. Didn't go home. Uh, my mom knew, I don't know, a few weeks in advance that that would be happening, but there was no conversation about it. So we felt, but we didn't communicate. It was too hard to communicate directly.
Hmm.
So it kind of feels like strange feeling that a 19-year-old boy attached to home, attached to mother, did something like that. So that terribly hurt them, of course. And some way, I also felt like I hurt myself. So it was kind of a few months of feeling like inspired, a little bit idealistic, but at the same time, gosh, what I'm doing, you know.
Yeah.
So it's hard, but I feel like, would I be able to do it today? I don't know.
Yeah, it's very brave. It's a very brave thing to do, and it's following in that impulse, like that you felt a connection with that monastery in Italy, and so you wanted to act on it. And I feel like your life pursuing as you were ordaining as a monk and as you were living as a monk, you found yourself in monasteries in Italy, in the United Kingdom, in Sri Lanka, in Thailand. You've really had some pretty profound adventures. And I think I saw on uh I think it was the Samaṇadīpa's monastery Hermitage's website's photo album, that there's some pictures of you, I think, in Sri Lanka. And I think there was like a caption that said, this is where I was with tarantulas and various other kind of uh, jungle insect and jungle environment life. I think there's also a picture of you. I don't know where this was, but you're in seated meditation with a mosquito net around you, and I mean it's a lot different than I think uh, practicing in Italy, or maybe practicing where you grew up. What were your experiences? I mean, did you feel like there was this sense of adventure that you were kind of pursuing on, and what was it like to kind of let go of a plan necessarily, and allowing for your life to put you in those positions where you were going, and being game for so much difference in your life.
Well, I think it was adventure as well. Definitely has some external feeling of adventure. Um, but more important, what was really adventure was not that much of external one. It was just like being adventure of a monk, which is more internal development. I never felt anything closer to nothing closer to be a tourist. Never felt like I want to look for places and so on. But yeah, I want to experience some kind of what monks experience. So some tough life, so some tough environments, some tough seclusions, connecting with other good friends of mine, monks who live quite inspire me, who are better developed. And I was just trying and trying to understand what they understand. It was just so much of faith, so much of interest that to be awakened. You know, I was very desperate to get awakened, and I overestimated a few times of some stuff. So, you know, it was just so hungry to know the things and be awakened and, you know, be one of those noble disciples.
Mm.
So yeah,
And
that's an adventure. That's an adventure. Yeah.
yeah. And it does seem like you found yourself in so many different places, meeting so many different people, and having experiences with different teachers and teachings, but also just like plenty of time with your own mind, like you were saying. Like this is something that like since you were 9, this is something that you were interested in exploring, and there you were, kind of being in different settings, but all the while really going deeper and deeper and trying to facilitate that awakening. And then you found yourself coming back and founding the Samaṇadīpa Forest Buddhist Monastery. Uh, maybe I don't know how far it is from where you grew up, but you founded that. What was that experience like, getting that up and running?
Hard. Well, it is the area where I grew up. Actually, the house where the Samaṇadīpa is actually the house of my great grandparents, and where my grandmother was born and died almost till her death. So yeah, it's a home area. But the beginning, it's tough because actually I went to Slovenia not so much with the blessing of this establishment in United Kingdom where I started, and they were very clear that yes, you know, they will not help me, they will not support me. So I was completely on my own. But there was so much, like I said at the beginning, you know, I had some kind of love and respect for this Slovenian group. As you know, I already told you that I also started really writing articles in Slovenian. So I start feeling like I want to be in touch with my own homely environment, with my language, maybe my culture, and I want to develop and explore that there. I want to be part of bringing Buddhism in Slovenia, not just this kind of planted traditional Thai, because I started in Thai tradition. I didn't want just to plant something that is foreign, but something, yes, let's translate the wisdom of the Buddha into Slovenian environment. So that's my home. That was something that was so meaningful for me, and I really want to do that. There were many obstacles for me to do that. A lot of misunderstandings, but for me it was just so meaningful to do that. And it's something so. And also I realized like I really developed better, not just in cushy environment, but really something if I throw myself into some kind of difficult situation, into crisis, voluntary. I wanted to put myself in situation when it's like hard. And I've done that. I went to this old cottage, which was so like there was no heating system, was a stove. Okay, it had water, had electricity, but didn't have no bathroom, no toilet. So that was all done outside. I was a stranger completely. Neighbors didn't understand what is this monk's robe doing around. Fortunately, they knew that I'm the grandson of Paula, and Paula was my grandmother, who was like very lovable and respected lady, and so they know I'm kind of distant relative there, so that was help, and some neighbors then also kind of helped me, but it was lonely. It was lonely, and also some other people helped me with some work. And it was just actually a cottage with one room, and that room at the time was like for many weeks or months, it was the same. Was my bedroom, it was a shrine room, it was a workshop, it was a dining room. I mean, everything was just there. So I was I had to always keep adjusting and so on, especially when we were painting and scribing the old paint off the wall. I was also sleeping there too. And it was tough, but I felt like, for the Dhamma, and that kind of kept me going. And I thought, like, it's okay if I'm alone. It's okay if people turn back away from me, because sometimes they did. They come to help me, but sometimes they just disappeared. But anyway, just like what matters is Dhamma, and keep going. But then, after years, it was just getting in some way easier, because some other monks start coming as well. So yeah.
It's an amazing story, and I think now you have like maybe, or at least when I saw this video, it was maybe like there are 6 or 7 people that live there now, or something like that. Yeah, and was that about right?
More actually, but depends.
Oh,
Now the place is now the Samaṇadīpa, or the two monasteries now
mm, mm,
connected.
mm.
One is called Samaṇadīpa, and one is called Hillside Hermitage of Ajahn Yanamoli, which is actually under the same umbrella called Samaṇadīpa. So Samaṇadīpa has two meanings. So under this umbrella of Samaṇadīpa, there are more monks, I think. I don't know, 10, must be 10.
Wow,
And they're changing between the two places.
it's
And
amazing.
now also a new branch of is developing in Poland.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
wow. I
Ajahn
mean,
Kundanyo in charge. Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's amazing that that's something that started with just you on this land that was your grandmother's, and you're setting it up, and you're like sleeping on the same floor where there are like paint chips, and there's no there's the bathrooms outside, and there's like a proper winter that you get in Slovenia, like especially in that region. I've seen some pictures of inches and inches, if not more, of snow, and for you to be there for some time getting this going, but because you established that, and because you're game for things that are hard, you were able to create a foundation for something that people have been able to enrich and grow, and I know that there's always more room for more dana and more things for people to contribute towards it. So I think it's a wonderful thing, and the fact that it's expanding into other countries is pretty incredible too. And I just wanted to point out too that I had a chance to look at some videos on your YouTube channel, and I think the one that I saw was from a few years ago, but it's kind of showing the grounds. It's showing you were kind of around the forest and the stream, and some of the work that you're doing. You're standing like a wood bench, and it just shows the beauty of the space, but also shows you like there's like hard work that happens constantly. Like there's like always something that needs to be fixed. There's always something that needs to be adjusted, so it's not without small effort. But at the same time, there are these beautiful moments where you're sitting on a fallen tree that's just hanging out just above a very slow stream, or very soft creek, and it offers so many um, wonderful access points to nature. And I think also too, there's some moments where you're walking barefoot on some trails, or you're walking on the grass. It must have been a really interesting experience for you to have a family history, like a look, like you're from that type of environment, and to be able to come and be able to sit in robes in that same space ish must have been pretty profound for you. And now you are more so you have you're no longer living in a monastic way. You're still involved with the hermitage and within Buddhism. I think you still function within a Buddhist teaching capacity, and now you're more so pursuing psychotherapy and logotherapy. And I was wondering, like, when now that you've transitioned into lay life again, what has that been like for you to go from living in the conditions that we just talked about into maybe back into village life?
Yes. Yeah. When I hear monks describing, they always I hear like it's a hard transition, and I was prepared for the hard transition, but it just didn't happen. And like I just wonder, like, why it's so hard? It's not so hard. For me, it was just it's still the same mind. I'm still, you know, I don't know. I don't know how to explain. It just feels like somebody spends so much time trying to know the mind, doesn't mean like I really know that I have the answers or nothing of the kind. But so much investigation was going on, so much looking, so much of suffering and struggle and so on. And then, but then what is gained? There's something is gained. You don't have to label it, nothing really profound, but something is gained through the struggle, and that stays. And just because I don't have monastic robe doesn't say that I'm losing what has been developed. And that was for me some kind of refuge. And then also when we focus so much on developing the mind, also didn't really matter to me what clothes I'm wearing. Well, to degree I did care, in the sense that one of that, I don't know, dozens of reasons why this robe is also, I don't want to be seen around just a monk all the time. Like, you just can't. I love to walk somewhere and just being nobody, in a sense, like not immediately like a target. In the West, everybody sees you. But the same when you go to Asia, again, everybody sees you because you're white person in monk's robe. So it just like feels like, oh my god, I just want to be nobody. I just want to be a person behind the screen, and that's I felt more comfortable. So it was not that hard transition for me. Um, but then psychotherapy came, and that was something like, oh gosh, yes, something I can now do similar thing as I did as a monk. It's just under a different name, and some specifications are different. But similar thing is I'm working with people, I'm talking to them, I am helping others through talking, and I like to guide, I like to teach, and for me that's something so meaningful when I can leave a positive impact on other people, especially because a lot of people are suffering and are confused, and I suffer and I'm confused, and but if I can do something to release them from it, that's something that I enjoy doing. Yeah.
And there's something really special too about you were certainly a community member when you were living in a monastic way, and you were helping share teachings through that, um, I guess, organization, and through and just the very fact that you are establishing a a center, like a place where the Dhamma can be in this village or this area that otherwise didn't have a monastery or otherwise didn't have access to something. You created that access point. But now that you're living in a lay lifestyle, you're able to offer something directly to clients and that maybe sit in front of you, or I don't know if you do online work, but you have this capacity to work on an individual basis on their terms. You're allowed you can have like a communication, whether you're speaking to someone that is inclined to Buddhism or not. You can have that kind of connection, And I was just wondering, like, how did you feel like this is like that you wanted to be engaging with other people? Because I know that sometimes there can be something very uh fulfilling about having a lot of isolated time, a lot of time to investigate your own brain. But at a certain point, I think that you wanted to go out and you wanted to reach people and you wanted to be available for people. Did something switch for you, or did something just drive you to be a little bit more visible in that way? I was just wondering how that might have developed for you.
Very good question. I never got this question before.
Okay.
So I had to think.
Mm.
And it seems now, kind of investigating loudly, I was actually a very shy person at the beginning of my monastic life. Very timid, very uncertain. Uh, and oh gosh, I was like put in situations I was dreading. I was so anxious to do phone calls and doing some duties. And I was many times overly forced actually in some sort of circumstances to deal with people. It didn't work that well in many cases. Pushing sometimes doesn't work. Don't do that. But there was another environment, another monastery that was in Cheaters when I was like, actually, was I suggested or I volunteered. But I took on a job as a guest monk. And somehow I felt like, oh gosh, I have a position. But yeah, that position requires dealing with people. But still felt like I value something. I feel like. And that voluntary, then of course, I had to start engaging with people. Not because I was forced, because I had to, just because no, that was my responsibility, and I was learning how to engage with others. So that was like growing. Anyway, this is a gradual development, and with the gradual development, I lost kind of that timid personality or this kind of shyness or afraid to talk, and was getting more open. So when I was getting more open, I felt like I can connect with other people, no problem. I'm not afraid of people anymore, and then just start like engaging. I want to help. I want to communicate. I want basically just to help. I have to correct a little bit myself. It's not like I'm desperate for communication. I'm still a very introverted person. I prefer, this means like I really prefer being alone, and this is how I can recover only when I alone and secluded. It's a certain level battery I have, and but when I have a battery going still full, and it's so meaningful for me to help other people because once you have some kind of access, well, access, some understanding your mind, and more in touch with my own vulnerability, with my own struggles, doubts, and everything what I experience, then of course I can also understand, like, let's say, other human struggles. And sometimes I feel sorry; they don't have to suffer that much. There's certain things is possible to communicate and help, invite them, inspire them to change their way of life, because they suffer because they don't know, but sometimes they don't hear the right messages, and sometimes they have to read hear something what they never heard before, or no friend or family member will actually tell us. Sometimes we have to hear something different, and then we make a change. And I'm quite happy actually to motivate others and see what impact leaves on them. And also at the same time, I always in my life, I felt like I like to be an investigator of mind. And sometimes also one part of investigation goes in the way that I investigate others. And that's also very stimulating for me to talk to them, try to understand to them what's going on there, what the patterns there, and then I help them. Yeah, that's also very interesting. Yeah.
I'd imagine some people, some clients that you work with might, as you both, when you're working together, uncover elements of habitual thinking or the concerns that they have. There might be some insights that you might get into your own, like, oh, that's how you access that, or like that's how, that was a successful healing strategy for you. Maybe that's something that I can apply to my work for myself as well. And I just also want to mention that I really do appreciate you mentioning that you are aware of your battery, that you're someone that isn't just uh, that there's someone that needs to recharge, that there's someone that needs the space to come back, and so that way you can be the most effective person for somebody else another time. So it's great that you have that awareness of yourself and what your needs are, so that way you can be as helpful to another as you can. So I think it's just nice to hear, because I think sometimes people forget that, oh, just because you are monastically trained, or oh, just because you practice such and such a thing with compassion means that you're just this ever-flowing fount of energy. It's like, well, sometimes you do need to rest, or you do need to take care. So I appreciate that. And I just want to mention, so I just have two more quick questions here. One of which has to do with promotion, and I wanted to see if there's anything that you'd like to get some eyes and ears on, a foundation or a cause that you're invested with, or if there's something that you have heard about that you want to bring attention to. And just on that note, I wanted to mention that you have an upcoming retreat a very soon upcoming retreat in Smolnik, Slovakia. And it's from September 19th through the 21st. And this is where you'll be teaching contemplative meditation in a friendly and psychologically safe and non-ideological way. There's some basis in ancient Buddhist texts and existential phenomenological literature, some Stoic philosophy, and some psychotherapy elements. So I just wanted to bring attention to that. There is some information for that can be found on your website, hiriko.org. And also, if you want more information about the Samaṇadīpa Hermitage, there's samanadīpa.org/sl. But yeah, if there's anything else that you'd like to bring up, I would be happy to hear about it.
Oh, I don't know. No, I had to correct you a little bit. The retreat is happening in Slovenia, not Slovakia.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, sorry.
People mixed up that these two countries.
Yeah,
So yes, guys, I'm in Slovenia. That's not the same as Slovakia.
yeah,
So
right. Sorry about that.
no problem. You're used to it. I know nothing special I have in mind. Like Samaṇadīpa, yes, check it out. Psychotherapy, check it out. Yes, I do online too. I also have clients, by the way, also from America and in Canada and so on. But I really like because it's a Buddhist group here. I invite to listen to Ajahn Yanamoli's podcast. He is a great teacher that actually my very great friend of mine. I learned a lot from him. And it was my honor to live with him, to spend time a lot with him, talking with him, sharing things with him. And it's a great monk. It's not just a great on, let's say, on YouTube. It's a great person, great character. And yes, I encourage everyone who wants to learn more about Dhamma, or looking at a different approach looking at Dhamma, let's say more like, let's say, existential approach to Dhamma, more sutta oriented Dhamma, then I really recommend to listen to Ajahn Yanamoli. It's not easy always to listen to him, but if you give a patience to it and try to understand something much deeper, then yes, that's my recommendation.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, well, I'll try to find that and put that in the description for the video as well, in case anyone's interested. And apologies again. I had done my translate on the website, and I could have sworn it came up as Slovakia, but I mean no disrespect for my misstep there. And then okay, good. And then do you have any advice for somebody that's beginning their Buddhist path that you would have wanted to have heard that you would have wanted to have heard as you were kind of coming up through your Buddhist journey? Any advice that you would have wanted to have heard?
Beginnings are always difficult. To learn something, such a great Dhamma, in short time is impossible. So in beginning, we struggle with doubts. and we do a lot of trial and errors, and that's the only way. And it's not an easy path. So everybody should be prepared to expect it's a difficult journey. If it's easy part, then something is wrong there. It means that probably something is ignored. So don't be afraid to step on the path, but just don't expect great lightning and great experiences, and don't overestimate yourself too quickly. I know from experience, but expect that life is a struggle, and the same practicing Dharma is a struggle. But more we restrain ourselves, more we try to listen to Buddhist teaching, and more that we are living alone and secluded and facing our demons, closer we are then to Dhamma. Yeah.
Hiriko, thank you so much for speaking with me. This is such a treat to speak with you about your experiences and all things that you've been offering and continue to offer. I certainly do appreciate what you're doing, especially now in your lay life as you're exploring psychotherapy and you're offering so many ways of meeting people where they are and offering different ways of working with them to heal and for your encouragement, and also to bring some expectations down as you walk the Buddhist path, because it's not all easy as you've shared, but there could be some very profound helpful moments. So thank you for sharing your story and your time with me today.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for providing this space for us to speak. Thank you. Wonderful work.